This is the World of Woocraft podcast by Lord Falconis, exploring the extremity and insanity of New Age extremism and pseudoscientific woo, one lunatic at a time. In this video, we're going to be learning how a PhD student from Cambridge decides to shift realities somehow without the use of drugs.
This really cool manifestation technique that I've been practicing a lot with recently, reality shifting.
Reality shifting without drugs as well, which is really interesting. This is Devi Sitaram, a PhD student at the University of Cambridge who has made it her life's purpose to embarrass said university with her belief system, which predominantly involves New Age and scientific belief systems. Here we go.
What is really cool about it is that in any instance, you can directly see the effects of you shifting your reality. I always talk about manifestation.
So what is this new amazing technology you have that allows us to shift realities? I mean, this must be some brand new breaking science that you're working on, except aren't you doing a PhD in chemistry, not physics?
Manifestation, the world and the reality that we live in actually consists of frequencies. There are different frequencies of reality that we can tune into.
Okay, here we go right out of the gate with the pseudoscientific nonsense. So to clarify, she is a PhD student at Cambridge, but in a major that she should not be taught. That is not what she's discussing here. Frequencies do exist, and things can change at those frequencies, and there's all sorts of different levels. So, for example, FM radio is a frequency. That's between, I think, 87 and 108 megahertz. Wi-Fi, that's a frequency. That's at 802.11 megahertz. At no point is there any form of frequency that shifts from one universe to the other. At least not one that we've discovered yet.
And there is a constant alignment of the frequency that we emit with our brain, which is our emotions, our feelings.
Any frequency that our brain emits, our brains are considered electronic impulses, so she's not entirely incorrect here. But our impulses maybe get like 2 inches away from our skulls. They're really not that powerful.
And the reality that we live in. So if we want to reality shift, it is
we take drugs, apparently.
About making that little adjustment in your frequency in order to align with your desired reality. When you apply it, so I'm going to explain to you how it sort of works or what I mean with this reality shifting. When you apply it, you see the results instantly. You immediately see the reality shape according to which reality you're shifting in.
So if I have this reality shift that there's going to be giant pigs flying around in the sky right now, that's gonna happen, right? Alright, let's try this. Let's all believe together that there are giant pigs flying around in the sky right now that we can see. We don't need any special machinery. I'm not hearing any pigs.
So once you start to practice with this reality shifting, you'll get better and better at it because you will see that it is actually working immediately in front of your eyes as you are applying it. And when you have that proof and that faith and that belief in this reality shifting, you can use it to quantum jump or quantum leap.
Ah, there it is, the quantum. It's the New Age pseudoscientific influencer's favorite word. Quantum. Quantum is a word that means very, very small. But people like Devi, people like Teal Swan, people like Jordan Pierce of Spirit Science, they take that word and they twist it into something that it's not. Because quantum sounds like this mystical, magical, amazing thing, when really all it is just describing stuff that's super duper small.
To much higher levels of reality, the realities where you have all of your desires or where you live your dream life.
Really? So how the hell do we do all of this, Debbie?
My name is Devi. I am a PhD student in chemical engineering.
Which, amazingly enough, is not physics, Davy.
University of Cambridge. In my free time, I love to study things about psychology, self-development, the law of attraction. I love making videos for you guys explaining this, but...
And she loves pulling shit out of her ass, in a non-Pornhub kind of way.
I want to help you more than just providing content. And therefore, I've created a 5-week self-development course. This is for the people that need that sort of guidance and structure and my help in terms of where to start, what practices to implement, where to start with. It can be very overwhelming when you just enter this self-development.
I love how she says all of this as she's got this advertisement right here for her website and this course, which I'm sure costs quite a bit of money because she's just like every other goddamn influencer. It's just she's unfortunate enough to actually be nearing a PhD. I don't know how close she is to getting her PhD, but I have to assume she'll eventually get it.
World, and you're like, where do I even start? So in this 5-week course, step by step, day by day, I am guiding you through an identity shift into your highest self. Check out the link in the bio if you want to find out more about that. Let me now get into this super cool technique that I've been practicing with a lot, which is reality shifting. As I already said in the introduction, we can think about the world and the reality that we live in as a frequency. So currently, the reality that we see around us is the frequency that we are tuned into. And that
frequencies are things that are part of our world. They are not our world.
All has to do with our emotions, which is the frequency that we're constantly providing to the world.
Emotions are not frequencies. They are things that are generated by our own conscience and our own conscious mind, but they are not frequency. They are simply chemicals in our brain. You should know that.
And there's a constant resonance of frequency. So through our emotions, we are tuning in to reality. It is almost like our emotions are the TV remote control.
Well, that's just great. Please tell that to anybody with some form of depression or any other form of mental health disorder. Because apparently, that's just what their brain is tuned into.
And the realities that we can live in are all of these TV channels, and we're constantly tuning in. Now, what this reality shifting is about, and you have to practice with it before you will believe me, because it's all...
Oh, of course we have to. We have to practice it. And if we're not doing it, and if we practice it and it doesn't work correctly, then it's obviously something that we are doing wrong. My God, are there any other ways that you can insult Cambridge?
It sounds insane. What this reality shift
because it is insane
thing is about is that the reality can literally change in front of your eyes.
Yes, you've said that already.
When you decide to tune into a different emotion.
So there we go. All we have to do is slap a smile on our face and make ourselves happy, and all of a sudden we shift into a better world.
Let's say something happens and you're getting really annoyed, or you're getting really frustrated, and you're getting really irritated. Now, at those moments, I remind myself of reality shifting. What is happening when I am expressing these emotions of frustration and anger?
Now, see, here's where she's starting to fuck things around and twist them up. What she's essentially going to describe is the idea that you can change your interpretation of what's going on by changing the way you look at things, which is valid. But what she has to do after that, but what she says after that is that not only are you changing your own perception of what's going on, you're literally changing your reality. Like you're shifting from one universe to the other.
Anger and whatever I'm feeling at the world, the reality will adjust. I will get more circumstances that are going to make me angry. I am going to get more circumstances that are going to call out that frustration in me. If I'm, for example, trying to achieve a certain goal, an achievement or a monetary goal, and I am expressing frustration with my current results, they're not...
And you have every right to express frustration. Frustration is healthy as long as you don't inflict yourself on other people or take it to an extreme.
Not meeting up to my desires, I am getting more of whatever I am admitting. Now, when we remind ourselves of reality shifting, we, at the very instance that we feel a specific emotion, anger or frustration, we switch to a higher frequency.
And here we go again with the pseudoscientific nonsense. You don't shift to higher frequencies. In fact, higher frequencies tend to be weaker than lower frequencies.
practicing a lot with.
God dang
Whenever
it.
I'm feeling at the world, the reality circumstances that are going to call out that frustration in me. If I'm, for example, trying to achieve a certain goal,
Sorry, I accidentally clicked to the start.
emotion, anger, or frustration, we switch to a higher frequency. And the most easy and most accessible frequency that is easy for us to get to is gratefulness.
Ah, here we go. Gratitude. I won't deny that being grateful can definitely give you a healthier approach to life, but people like Davey and law of attraction advocates in general take gratitude to an extreme. Some of them even going so far as to say you should be grateful for traumatic things that happened to you.
So in those moments, try to find anything around you, anything that you can think of in your life currently, in your environment, or about yourself that you feel gratitude for. Just literally artificially think, okay,
Literally, artificially. That's an interesting way to say things.
like I'm a little robot, I am reality shifting, like, make
No, you're changing the way you look at something and trying to get yourself out of a mental hole. That is not reality shifting. That's just trying to get yourself rationalized.
it a little bit sort of plastic, like make it a little bit manual. Think about it in a little bit of a physical, robotic sense. Like it is physics. The law of attraction and tuning into different frequencies is physics. So just decide.
No, 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 no. It is not physics. It is pseudoscience. At best, it is philosophy. And it's not a very good philosophy at that. It is an extremely toxic philosophy. You're trying to confuse actual science with pseudoscientific philosophy, which is unacceptable in my eyes.
In that instance, I am going to tune into a different frequency. Let's say gratefulness. Let's look around and find something I'm grateful for. And watch how your reality shapes accordingly. Watch how suddenly things around you will change and shift. Let me give you an example where
She's literally taking CBT and applying it with New Age pseudoscience right here.
I recently used reality shifting. I was walking around in public and I was random thoughts. I was just thinking to myself, well, no one is really similar to me in this environment. I'm only seeing people that are very different than me.
Well, yeah, you kind of want that. What is the term? Homogenesis can be a really bad thing. Again, something you should know, Davey. You go to a very well-known university.
Etc., etc. And then I reminded myself, reality shifting. So I told myself the opposite. Everyone around me is similar to me. Everyone around me understands me. Everyone around me loves me. And literally, it is almost like the people that I started to see after that were completely different. And I was in that same environment.
She's taking this to an extreme. But it is a valid thing to say, except what she's doing is she's making this turn into some weird magical quasi-science reality shifting mumbo jumbo when really it's just she's ripping off CBT.
But you have to really practice with this reality shifting and understand how magical it is in terms of it is all about perception. So actually different things will start to stand out to you because you changed your thoughts about reality. But it is almost, to our perception, it almost seems magical, but because it is literally like, I thought I was just in the same environment, but suddenly I'm seeing completely different people around me, people that I do resonate with, people that I do feel similar to or resonating with. And this is how magical this reality shifting is. Let me get you another example.
Please don't.
There was a moment where I wasn't feeling happy about my work and I was feeling frustrated and where am I going, right? And then I reminded myself, reality shifting. I am so grateful that I get to do this work. What else would I be doing? It's giving me purpose in life. Like, come on, we can always think, we can always shift our perspective.
Yes, that's the term that you should be saying. None of this pseudoscientific New Age shifting reality kind of garbage. That is it right here. That is the core of this video. Shifting your perspective. Stop trying to wrap pseudoscientific magical shit around basic cognitive therapy.
Because that is really the core and the essence of this reality shifting. It is basically you are consciously deciding to tune into a different emotion. The most easy accessible one is gratefulness. Secondly,
she repeats herself a lot, I've noticed.
You are changing your perspective on the situation. And with the faith, not that the situation is already different, but you understand manifestation and reality shifting from such a deep level, and practice with it first before you actually get to that level of faith and commitment. You know that when you decide to change your perspective, your reality will adjust accordingly.
No, your perception will adjust accordingly. Use those words and not the weasel words of the New Age realm, Davey.
Different people will be suddenly around you. Different results will be coming in. So, sorry, let me go.
At best, you'll probably notice different traits about these people that make them similar to you. They won't magically change in front of your eyes. Trust me.
Back to the example about my work. So I decided to change my perspective, and suddenly I had a breakthrough, or I received a specific notification with something that...
Did you get a notification in your brain? Like, what kind of sound happens when you get a notification in your brain? It's like a bloop kind of thing? I'm not really certain here.
Was actually showing me how well my work was going. But it first started with me deciding to reality shift. So I really want to emphasize this word reality shifting because
she's trying to shill this to make herself look like an expert when really she's pulling shit out of her ass. Stay in your discipline, Davey.
I want this practice to stick in your brain as a sort of like magic little wand, because that is truly what it is. And this is the way I practice with it as well. I constantly, whenever things are not going the way I want, or whenever I'm experiencing emotions that aren't the ones I want to feel, I literally remind myself of this very physical, arbitrary process like a remote control, and I call this reality shifting. Let's shift my frequency. Let's shift my perspective. Let's shift my...
You're repeating yourself again. You've literally taken the last 8 minutes and 47 seconds into content that could have been condensed into a 4-minute video.
Feelings, and then see what will happen to the reality around me. Literally, people's behavior towards you will change. Results that you're getting from...
So basically you're advocating for manipulating people, is that it?
From your work or whatever will change after you change your frequency, or after you reality shift first. Practice with this. I want you to start to practice with this reality shifting. And I can explain it as much as I want, but...
Yes, and you have, several times over the course of 10 minutes, more than you probably should have.
You will only believe it when you see things will literally change.
Another hallmark of pseudoscience. You will have to believe it in order to see it. That is a telltale sign of pseudoscience right there. Because with proper science, the evidence can be presented in front of you. But whenever it's the law of attraction, oh, you have to believe it in order to see it. Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
In front of your eyes instantly when you change your frequency. It can change in the very same instant as you decide to change your frequency. Now, how can we change our frequency? Our frequency is our emotions, right? And
no, emotion and frequency are two different concepts.
It is like the way we cause how we feel, or the way we tune our frequency, is through the thoughts that we present to ourselves. And here we have a little bit of control. Here we have a little bit of power. We don't always have control about what thoughts are presented to us. I see thoughts as like waves, you know, sometimes a high one, sometimes a low.
So what you're saying is we don't always have power over the things that attack our minds, you know, kind of like PTSD or something like that.
Low one, they're a bit chaotic. Thoughts are chaotic, but we do have the control that whenever a thought is presented to us that we don't like, we have the power to change perspective by thinking the opposite, by seeing and asking ourselves, how can we change perspective? How can I view this in a different way? How can I view this from a perspective of gratitude? That is the sort of...
And that is, for the most part, a valid idea, a valid tactic that you can use. But again, you can't just use it verbatim as a panacea. Because sometimes you have to see things as bad. Sometimes you have to see things as negative. Not to mention, once again, she's basically taking CBT and turning it into pseudoscientific bullshit, much like Teal does.
Most overarching, easy thing to tune into, because every single human at any instant, and no matter how shitty their life is getting, can think of something that they can actually still feel gratitude for, even if it is the food on your plate, even if it is the roof above your head, whatever it is, even if it is just gratitude for yourself.
The other thing about gratitude is that it can also be used to invalidate your situation. If you're legitimately going through a lot of pain right now, or suffering through a really bad thing, someone telling you, just be grateful about the things that are going on, that doesn't change anything. Your pain is still there. Your pain is still hurts. At best, they're telling you your pain is insignificant. You should be thinking positive.
For showing up for yourself, for watching this video, for putting in the work, for wanting to improve, there are always things to find gratitude for.
I'll be grateful for it. I'll be grateful for 5 minutes from now at this rate.
Now, when it comes to a specific experience, as I was giving that example earlier, where I was in an environment where I was thinking like, oh, no one around me is similar to me, I'm not really vibing with anyone here. And then I artificially changed my perspective, said the opposite to myself. Everyone around me is similar to me, and I resonate with everyone. And literally the people around me started to change. It is like, I was like, where are these people coming from? Like, what is happening? And that is reality shifting.
No, that's perception shifting, once again.
And I want you...
I feel like I've been repeating myself now, only because she keeps repeating herself.
I keep emphasizing this word, reality shifting, because I want you to see it as this sort of...
Because she wants it to get into your head. So whenever you think about that kind of thing, you think about that video that Davey said about it.
Visual practice that you can use in any instant, at any moment in your life, when things aren't going the way you want, when you aren't getting the results or aren't seeing the things that you would like, because our brain is never satisfied. We always want more, we always want different things, the endless suffering of the human life. But I want you to practice with this reality shifting. Change your frequency by taking...
And ignore all of the bad shit going on out in the world. Just think about all the positive things that are going on. Stick your head in the sand. No one cares.
Taking on a perspective of gratitude, or a perspective that is just the opposite from whatever you were previously thinking. Adjust your frequency, adjust your feelings. Even if you have to think of your dog or your pet or someone that you love, whatever you need to do to get yourself in a different feeling and frequency, and watch how your reality will recalibrate and adjust accordingly. And things around you will literally change in front of your eyes. Now,
I think we've proven over the course of the last 12 minutes that doesn't happen.
That was my little practice that I wanted to share with you this week. Practice with this and let me know in the comments what is happening, what things your reality shifting.
I would say absolutely nothing, but I don't want to get banned from her channel because she makes good content, but not in a good way.
Because it is honestly the coolest thing when you get proficient with it and when you keep using it.
Ah, that's the kicker, isn't it? When you get proficient with it. Because it doesn't just happen. You have to trade, you have to condition, you have to get that reality at first before you can see it. You have to believe in order to see it. Where have we heard that line before? Oh yeah, St. Augustine.
And using it and keep getting better with it. And I also want to highlight that I know this self-development world is very overwhelming. A lot of people talk about meditation, or you need to do journaling, no, you need to do script every day, no, you need to do affirmations. And a lot of people lack structure. And for those people, I have created a 5-week self-development course. It is very...
Oh boy, here we go.
And the beauty about the course is that I don't want to overwhelm you with a million practices at once. We do this in a very chronological, efficient manner. Each week we're working on different themes. So week 1, we're working on switching thought frequencies. Week self-concept.
Yep,
Week
I'm
3
out.
is about
Yeah,
ego,
we're gonna blow through this
trauma.
shit.
Week 4 is about mastering the manifestation techniques.
That is Davy Siadaram, a PhD student who really has no business being a PhD student. we're going to hear from a starseed who claims to have astrally projected into the royal family to find that the royal family is nothing but a bunch of clones.
A very giant red flag. Because there are some very suspicious activities going on with Kate Middleton. If you don't know who she is, I'll just give you a really brief update. She is the wife of William, Prince William, who is essentially set to be the king. So this is the future Queen of England we're talking about. And there have been a lot of interesting things culminating in the past couple of months.
This is Elizabeth April, a so-called starseed who calls herself a clairvoyant, truth seeker, intuitive psychic, and best-selling author. I thought all psychics were supposed to be intuitive. And as for best-selling author, where exactly? Because I haven't the slightest clue where.
So back in the day, I used to be all over the mainstream tabloids on what was going on with the royal family, and specifically.
And it's important to know that Elizabeth April is not a Brit. She's an American. So, not too sure why she's interested in the royal family. I mean, I guess you can have the interest, but it's kind of weird where she's going to go with all of this.
I would look behind what the mainstream was saying to really better get an understanding of the truth.
What she really means is she would try to find ways to create conspiracy theories about the royal family.
What's really happening? What is the cover-up here?
Exactly.
And so what I'll say is that if there was nothing going on, I would be very open and very honest, as I've been many times before, about saying, look, this was completely blown out of proportion, there's nothing going on.
Well, unfortunately, with a little speculative comment like that, there's no way that I can prove that, because that would involve me having to watch every single one of her videos. So, I'm just going to keep that in mind, what she says.
No big deal, let's just go ahead and move forward. That is not the case. There is a lot going on behind the scenes with poor Kate Middleton. And
I should also add, this is before the royal family announced that Kate Middleton had a form of cancer. So, at the time, everybody was speculating as to why Kate Middleton wasn't making public appearances. Now we know. And now we know, and we can look back at this video, and we can see just how far down the insane rabbit hole that Elizabeth is going to go down.
And we're going to get into it today. So, put on your tinfoil hats.
I unfortunately have. Apparently you haven't put yours on, or is that beanie your tinfoil hat and it just looks like a regular beanie? I'm not really sure.
And let's get into it. Of course, if you are new here, welcome to the team. Be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and turn on the bell for notifications to be alerted for the next one.
Yeah, if I did that on my sock puppet account, I would be constantly blown up.
If you are sick and tired of ads on YouTube, please keep in mind that every single one of my YouTube videos can be found ad and censorship free on my website.
Or you could just subscribe to YouTube Premium. That works too, and you won't have to give her any money.
All you have to do is sign up, give your email, and they're free, okay?
Yeah, except for the courses and the premium content. I know how she operates. Teal operates that way.
So please check that out if you don't want to deal with YouTube ads. All right. So what exactly is the mainstream narrative surrounding Kate Middleton? Let's just go ahead and talk about that first, and then I'm going to tell you about my remote viewing experience.
Yes, she did a remote viewing of the royal family, and she goes to some crazy places with this that she's probably not going to be able to prove beyond her thinks and her feels.
With her today, which is pretty wild. So we're going to get into that. Okay, so here's kind of the narrative, right, that's been going on. The last known sighting and recording of Kate Middleton was actually in church during Christmas. So we're talking December 2023. So it's been a little while, right? It's been, 3 months.
I might skip through a lot of this because she's basically covering a lot of the background as to what's going on with Kate, where she is, and all of that stuff. And it's not really relevant to anything that she's going to be talking about in the future.
Ish. There has been a recent sighting, and we're talking in the last, 2 or 3 days. And so Kate Middleton and William were sighted at the farm store. I guess it's called the farm store, which is just
The farm store.
down the road from the Windsor Castle. There was no media, there were no photos taken. However, there were eyewitnesses to seeing her,
Well, there you go. That's the last time that someone saw her then.
and all of the eyewitnesses were interviewed, and they all said, well, Kate looks happy and healthy, and, she was smiling and interacting, and everything seemed totally normal.
Because it probably was. She was probably putting on a happy face so that people could see that everything was normal. She probably wasn't sure she wanted to announce that she had cancer yet.
All right. So apparently there was a surgery. It was some sort of abdominal surgery in January. And so the reason for her disappearance,
All right, I'll say good day.
for her
Shit.
not really being seen in the public is apparently because of this surgery. Even the staff at the castle and at their home has not seen her. All right. Now, before the sighting at this farm store in the last couple of days, there was a photo that was posted, I believe, to her own Instagram page saying Happy Mother's Day in the UK, and it was of her and her kids. However, upon closer inspection of this photo, it is very clearly photoshopped. I mean, I'm not like a graphic designer by any means, but to me, it kind of looks like an AI generated image. The hands are always kind of weird, and there's just a little.
Yeah, well, these are all effects of AI. So now she's claiming that this picture that she saw, which was artificially intelligent, is she going to give us the picture or is she just going to describe it?
The kids are almost like too smiley. I don't know. There are some very, very bizarre things. Like we're talking like conspiracy theorists or people who don't even believe in conspiracies are all saying that this photo is really bizarre, that she's saying is this brand new photo and everything's fine and she loves her kids and Happy Mother's Day. So that really just triggered the conspiracy even further.
So a normal photo, which was AI created, is going to create this insane conspiracy.
She hasn't been seen. She had some weird surgery, and then
Well, I imagine that's something that happens when you're a cancer patient. We didn't know this back when she made this video, but now it makes a little more sense.
now all of a sudden there's this very weird photo that has clearly been photoshopped, and then because of all of the stir and the craze that was created by this very weird photo, she came out and said, I was just playing around with Photoshop. I'm sorry, but the future Queen of England is just playing around with Photoshop?
I mean, I can believe it. I play around with Photoshop. Well, I play around with DALL-E and other AI things. I don't use Photoshop because I don't pay Adobe $50 freaking dollars a month for Photoshop and all of its other things. But yeah. Come on, some people just want to have fun doing stuff. Is that not understandable to you, Elizabeth?
Highly doubt she knows how to put together a photo like that. Yeah, it wasn't done well, but there's no way. Ridiculous, okay?
And Photoshop does have AI capabilities now. So, yeah, that does sound plausible.
Okay, so it's just like it's stirring the pot even more. All right. Now, here is the current conspiracy that people are talking about.
Meaning her.
And it's important to mention this. So apparently, Prince William / future king, has a mistress. The mistress's name is Rose Hanbury. And
Let's take a look really quick and see if there's any truth to this. Rose Hanbury. Let's see here. So there is a Rose Hanbury. There is a Rose Hanbury here. She's some sort of former model and former political staffer who is a British peeress. Let's see here. And she's threatening to, and let's see here. She sent a legal notice recently to Stephen Colbert after he made on-air quips earlier this month about a rumored affair between Hanbury and Prince William, linking it to speculation on where Kate Middleton is. So apparently now everybody thinks that he's cheating on her with Rose de Hanbury, which has yet to be seen. I doubt he's even doing it.
The current sort of conspiracy update is that Rose, the mistress, is pregnant and she doesn't want to give up this baby.
Why she doesn't issue a cease and desist order against Elizabeth April is beyond me. Maybe because she's too small for anyone to care. Thank God.
And this is part of the reason why Kate hasn't been seen, which I objectively don't know why, a mistress and Kate not being seen. I don't know why those two things would be connected. I think for quite a few years now, it's been known that Prince William has been having an affair with Rose Hanbury.
Citation needed on that, especially since Rose Hanbury is denying it, and threatening to sue Stephen Colbert over it. So I think we know where we're getting at with this situation, Elizabeth. Hope you haven't gotten a cease and desist letter from her.
Like, that's kind of a very well-known sort of thing. So, but it's a part of it, okay? It's kind of sad, too, because Diana, had the same experience with her husband, cheating on her. Anyway, all right, so...
It's almost like the royals could be their own reality TV show. Maybe that's why so many people are obsessed with them.
That's kind of what the mainstream is saying about this. Let's talk about what I remote viewed. Now,
here we go. So let me explain what remote viewing is. Basically, you meditate and you can astrally project yourself out of your body to observe places in real life. So you can observe things. The U.S. government actually tried to see if this was real. Spoiler alert, it wasn't. Oh my God, the face that I put it on here. I seem to have either really good luck or really bad luck when it comes to freeze frames, depending on one's interpretation. But here we go. She's going to describe how she remote viewed into the royal family, and she found some pretty interesting stuff, supposedly.
Especially if you're new to the channel, let me remind you, I am a remote viewer. I remote view through trance meditation, so essentially I get into a deep state of meditation. I separate myself from the current present reality, even my current present body, and within that space I can really go anywhere I want to go.
And yes, I did used to believe it, that you could do this.
And take a look at information, and even remote view politicians, celebrities, and royal family members.
And we all know that this isn't true because the U.S. government would be doing it.
So, here's what happened when I tried to remote view Kate Middleton.
She got a 404 connection error.
Now, this next part is like pretty crazy stuff, all right? So, as always, take it or leave it.
We're going to leave it.
If it resonates with you, it's for you. If not, no big deal. All right?
I love how she's going to claim all of this bombshell stuff, but then just say, oh, well, if it doesn't really resonate with you, then I guess it doesn't really matter in reality, and it's not true. Like, where are you getting at here, Elizabeth?
It's pretty wild. I got out of my body. I set an intention, so I set an intention for who I want to go see, and usually I will go right over to that person, okay? And now typically royal family members are heavily guarded. Like, they will have basically like...
Yes, you can have psychic guards that will block people from trying to sneak in on you psychically. I think someone once claimed to have tried to sneak into Biden or something like that on Teal Tribe, or they tried to connect with Muhammad or something like that. I don't quite remember it, but it was a really bizarre story that involved like the devil and everything like that.
Like energetic bodyguards around them, and celebrities have that too. But what was really weird was that I couldn't find her. I could not find her.
No, gasp. You couldn't find her with your psychic brain, Elizabeth?
she wasn't anywhere. All right. So it took me a little while. I was searching, looking for her, couldn't find her. I went to the castle. I even went to William, found him, lots of dark stuff around him.
Oh, yes. Lots of dark stuff. Dark stuff all around Prince William. It's all a conspiracy that you'll never be able to prove, apparently, without even because you can't even produce a shred of evidence beyond whatever the heck is in this video.
But I couldn't see where she was. I was actually really confused. So what I had to do was that I took a huge step back. Typically, I can find someone, and then with their higher self permission, I will be able to read their information and
Higher self permission. And so what the heck is this? Is this like some sort of like, is the astral projection world like some sort of internet thing where I have to connect to some computer and then the computer has to connect to a router or something like that? Because that seems to be what's going on here.
even backtrack in their life as well, like look at their Akashic records. Because I couldn't find her, I wasn't able to.
So the Akashic records, for those of you who don't know, are these records that essentially depict everything that has happened, is happening, and is going to happen. Because apparently cognitive dissonance is a thing, and apparently we could change our reality, but apparently we also can't if it's already written down already in the Akashic records.
To do that. So I took a step back and I spoke to her higher self, her spirit guides, and I took a look at her contracts. And then I took a look at her Akashic records. Instead of finding her, the human, I had to find like her energetic counsel, I guess. And then
Her counsel? You seem very unsure about this, Elizabeth. I thought you were an expert in these things.
ask permission to gain access to information that way. So I just had to do
Oh, that just sounds super simple then. So we just have to ask the spirit guides to have a connection with Kate Middleton then? Maybe we can have a connection with her cancer and get rid of it. Maybe we can address it, much like Teal suggested with her left ovary. Yes, that's a thing for those of you just joining us.
it a roundabout way. So I did. I took a look at her Akashic records. Now, here's what I picked up on. Once again, take it or leave it. Something happened in December. Something happened in December, and I wasn't sure what it was. I don't know, but it felt like the straw that broke the camel's back.
Which is conveniently when she disappeared. So, yeah, maybe your cognitive senses are kind of petering into this thing.
You know, it's like Kate has been playing this game of, yes, I'm going to be the perfect wife, and I'm going to be the perfect royal family member, and I'm going to be so perfectly suited for this role.
Well, yeah, that's a huge facade you have to take. You are a member of the royal family. There are standards that you will be expected to follow.
And everyone loves me, and there's drama happening in the royal family, but it's not around me because I'm fitting this image, I'm fitting this role. However, something happened in December that was kind of that straw for her of saying, I'm done with this. And I'm not sure if it was the affair with William. I'm not sure if it was because his mistress got pregnant. I'm not sure if that was what triggered it.
Maybe that's when she got cancer.
Or if it was something else altogether, but I couldn't see what it was. I don't know what it was. But there was definitely like an intensity of an emotional reaction. And she was like, I am done. And not only did she say, I am done, but she threatened to take the kids with her.
Citation needed. And I don't mean your remote viewing. I mean actual evidence.
I'm done with this family, I'm taking the kids, and I'm leaving. Now, if you know anything about the English royal family, you'll know that there's been a lot of controversy. There's been a lot of...
Yeah, they are a ruling family. There's going to be controversies of all kinds. Just like there were controversies with Trump. Just like there's controversies with Biden. Just like there's controversies with literally every leader ever.
Of drama. And essentially the royal family did not want another scandal. Okay. This is where it gets weird. How do I even say this? I don't know. It's just, it is what it is. It's going to sound crazy.
That's because it is crazy.
All right. So I'm like taking a look at this like build up, and then all of a sudden I'm transported over to this facility is what I would call it. It looked like an underground facility, no windows.
Out of this, an underground facility. She doesn't say where this facility is. I mean, she's a remote viewer. She should be able to tell us relatively good where this facility is. Where is it? Is it in London? Is it in Scotland? Is it in someplace in bumfuck Kansas? Where is this place?
And I saw, what do I call them? Like giant machines that look like there were bodies inside these machines, okay? And the word that came through was like cryogenic. Like it was like a cryogenic facility with people who were cryogenically frozen. And I'm like, what the hell am I doing here? And I see Kate Middleton. That's so crazy.
Wow, so Kate Middleton is currently sitting in an underground facility somewhere in the world. And why is she doing this, Elizabeth?
I see her times 3.
Times 3, you say?
Yeah. So, essentially, after her blow up in December, they decided that it was time to get rid of her.
Okay, here we go. So apparently they decided to kill her. And where we're going is that they've got multiple clones of Kate Middleton that they can just drop off at a moment's notice in case of something like this. Wow. Like, why can't they share this technology with the rest of the world? Like, we could literally solve hunger and medication issues and all of that instantly with this technology.
And they took one of these copies, clones, if you will, out of this facility, which is interesting. And I've like got a whole other story about these facilities. So
I'm
like
sure
in that moment,
you
I'm
do.
like, oh, I guess every prominent royal family member has a certain number of clones. I wouldn't be surprised if there.
Then why didn't they clone Queen Elizabeth when she was younger? I imagine that they can probably cultivate these clones and create younger versions of them. Why didn't they do that? So that the UK could have their Queen Mum still.
Were celebrity figures or even politicians that also had like backup clones. And anyway, so after they took her out, okay, they basically got one of these clones out of this facility and they needed to start programming this clone.
Oh yes, she has to be programmed to be prim and proper, like a princess.
And that's when they made up the surgery in January. There was no surgery in January.
Prove it! Prove it! We have evidence that shows the surgery happened. If you're gonna make a brazen claim like that, I expect that you prove it. Otherwise, I hope the royal family sues your ass for defamation.
That was not a planned thing. That was something that they had to basically stall the masses of, yep, she's going to be in recovery, like, don't worry about that.
Well, yeah. The kind of surgery she had would probably warrant that. I mean, I haven't had abdominal surgery. I've entertained getting weight loss surgery, and that would set you back a month in recovery.
And then I saw, like, posted an AI image to keep people at bay and all that.
And I'm sure someone was just fucking around with it. Like, use Occam's razor, Elizabeth.
Obviously, that backfired on them. Oh, yeah, and then basically this whole, like, being seen by witnesses at the farm store with William in Windsor, like just outside of Windsor. They were like taking the clone out in public, but not like a documented space. So it's like they were like testing the clone. Like they were bringing this clone out and saying like, can.
Or she had just recovered from surgery and maybe wanted to see if she could go outside and do well out there. You ever think about that, Elizabeth? Or are you just pulling shit out of your ass just so you can make a few money with the views you get on your YouTube video?
Can she pass in a public space? Which is, yeah. So it was like after that photo blew up and people were like, no way, like something weird is going on. They basically had to push the testing and push the release of this clone earlier rather than later. And like I said, witnesses say that she looked happy and healthy. And once again, I saw that they have been programming the clone. Now, I just want to I'm going to give you all of the signs of what to watch for when taking a look at clones of individuals.
Oh boy, here we go. So, how do we spot clones, Elizabeth?
I want to tell you two things about clones and how I first came across the idea of the fact that clones are a real thing. So,
how do we know you're not a clone, Elizabeth?
this was back in 2010, all right? This is long before anyone was ever talking about this topic, not to mention I wasn't doing and really don't do any external information research.
Well, there we go, everybody. Let me go back on that one. I think that's probably the most honest thing that she said this video. Let me repeat that.
Do any external information, right? This is long before anyone was ever talking about this topic, not to mention I wasn't doing and really don't do any external information research. I was told at a young age that if I was going to
Yep. I think that's just it. You don't do any research. You just pull stuff out of your ass.
gain access to any information, it had to be straight from the source. I'm already dealing with my own limitations and perception. So, in 2010, I was 19 years old and I was remote viewing for the first time. I was super into conspiracies and different agendas and taking a look at the dark side, and these dinosaur beings is what I called them back then. I didn't have a name for them. And I was really obsessed.
I'm guessing she probably meant reptilians, but yeah.
With remote viewing military bases, because specifically I wanted to know what the American government was doing. What are they up to? What are they doing in these remote facilities? So I went to the Antarctic base, I went to Area 51, I got kicked out of a couple bases, got myself into some tricky situations.
And apparently she's totally fine and everything. Let's assume that they actually have psychic guards here in the end. That's this remote viewing stuff actually works. Wouldn't they have just killed her the moment she set foot in Area 51 as an astral projector? Because that's what makes logical sense. Because the moment you set foot on Area 51 in real life, your ass getting shot. But apparently that doesn't happen if you're a psychic.
Learned a lot in the process. But one of these bases that I went to, and it wasn't Area 51, but it was in the desert, I could almost pinpoint it as like an Arizona type of location. This is a military base that I don't think anyone really ever talks about. So I ended up at this underground facility, this underground base.
And is this the same facility that Kate Middleton is being held at? Is she right here in the U.S. apparently? Are these American-made clones or something like that?
And I'm taking a look around, and same thing. There are all of these machines all over the place, and there are these humans in these
Apparently we are.
machines that are like frozen, like cryogenically frozen. And I wasn't sure what I was looking at. I wasn't sure if this was like some sort of hybrid programming, if they were like genetically just like creating humans. Like I wasn't sure what they were doing there until I saw copies, okay? Like the exact same person from one machine to another, like multiple versions of people. And I'm like, I was so confused.
You were confused. You couldn't tell right away that there was clones going on?
I was so confused because I had never even heard about cloning. I thought it was the craziest thing I've ever seen, and I definitely have never, ever, ever wanted to go online and say that this was a real thing. Now, keep in mind, that was 2010.
When clearly you had more sense than you do now.
I originally saw that. I didn't even get onto YouTube and start talking about the information that I was gaining access to, never saying that I was a remote viewer, never saying I was talking to extraterrestrials until...
If she really was talking about all this stuff, and this is all stuff that's actually happening, the US government would be doing everything in its power to destroy her. The fact that she's still here spewing this nonsense suggests otherwise.
2016, okay? 2016. And even then, I'm like, I'm just a spiritual teacher, like, you know what I mean? Never telling people how I gained.
You were a spiritual teacher. So if you were 19 in 2010, that means that you were roughly 24 or 25 in 2016. How could you call yourself a spiritual teacher when you're barely in your mid-20s?
Access to the information. So that
Well, I guess Teal must have.
was a long time of like, and now I'm even like surprised I'm saying it now because it does sound so crazy.
Because it is crazy.
Anyway, that was my first experience with cloning. And when I started exploring this concept of cloning a little bit more, I understood that the first, and once again, take it or leave it, okay? But the
Again, we're leaving it. We're leaving all of this in the dust in the middle of a desert, hopefully not on top of a remote military facility.
first public clone to ever make an appearance was Michael Jackson.
Citation needed right the fuck now. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence, and you have just made a blatantly extraordinary claim. So where's your evidence, April?
Okay. And there were multiple, I want to say 6 or 7 different Michael Jackson renditions, clones. And part of the problem with the Michael Jackson clone is that the more, so, and I'm not a scientist, I'm not a biologist, but
That's clearly obvious.
essentially they will take a DNA, right? They will create a clone from that DNA, and then they'll basically get it to term or however they do that. And then if they clone, if they create another clone from the clone's DNA, the DNA starts to break down, okay? And this is what we ended up seeing with this Michael Jackson clone. Is like,
So what she's essentially saying is they took the original Michael Jackson, who I guess, I don't know, mysteriously must have died at some point or something like that, and cloned him. Then they recloned him from that clone, and that's why he kept getting weirder and weirder looking, and it totally didn't have to do with the fact that he had vitiligo, or vitigo, or I'm not really certain how you pronounce it. How do you pronounce it? Give me a minute. Give me a minute. Vitiligo, I think it is. Yeah. Occam's razor, Elizabeth.
it just got worse and worse and worse. It just broke down more and more and more as the years went on. And of course, I mean, Michael Jackson, like he was a starseed. I mean, he was trying to make the world a better.
No, he wasn't. He was a Jehovah's Witness that had an extremely traumatic childhood who swore that he didn't want anyone else to go through what he went through. So that's why he was the person that he was, not because he was some starseed or something like that.
Place, and he was speaking out against the industry. So of course they wanted to replace him.
I guess that makes sense now.
All right, so let's just.
But following that reason, that means every celebrity has a freaking clone. So how does that whole process even happen? Who gets to decide who gets these clones? You need to elaborate about that.
Briefly talk about the signs of a clone. As always, guys, take it or leave it. I mean, I did not expect to check into Kate Middleton and talk about clones. All right. So, signs of a clone. The face usually doesn't match. Like, at first, and they're getting better with clones. They're getting way better. They're getting so good, in fact, that if you were to take like an AI generated, or sorry, not AI, like a face scanning recognition, that face would be recognized. So they are getting much better. You know, they've come a long way since my.
So the face has to be off. Could it be maybe that their face is off because they're in pain, or maybe they're sick or something like that? Because that would definitely give someone a different face.
Michael Jackson, which is insane.
Vitiligo.
But there are like little tiny differences within the face, and I believe that a big, huge agenda with cloning, okay, a back end agenda with cloning is what is it called?
Bullshit.
Surgery, plastic surgery. It's plastic surgery, right? Why are the celebrities pushing plastic surgery?
Because they have the money and they want to make it so that they don't look like they're aging. That's why.
Oh, because whoever's face looks a little bit different. It's got to be a nip tuck. It's got to be a plastic surgery. It's got to be a new nose. It's got to be, and look at that agenda really coming out with Michael Jackson. Why does he look different? It's vitiligo. It's plastic surgery.
There you go, and there's your answer. Now you can shut up.
He's got a new nose. He doesn't like who he is, so of course he's going to change himself and look different.
And a lot of people would if they had the money.
And that narrative has continued to seep into mainstream.
Because that's the most logical reason. Because Occam's razor. Not whatever tinfoil fueled garbage that you're spewing out of that sewer of a mouth that you have.
So that we just kind of chalk it up to plastic surgery. Like, I get it, whatever. Also, things like signs of a clone. Please look out for this with Kate Middleton. Birthmarks and tattoos, some of the time, do not match.
Yes, so let's go looking right at it. We should ask Kate Middleton, hey Kate, can we take a big microscopic view of your skin right now? Can we get you naked right now? Oh my god. Yeah, that totally won't piss the fuck out of an entire nation.
All right? They just don't match. Sometimes they don't get it right, or they will redo a tattoo and put it in like the wrong place. If you compare,
Let's assume that that this actually is happening. Let's assume that she's right. That would be an A1 ridiculous mistake, because you have to assume these are people that know Kate Middleton's body intimately, but not in that way. And they would probably be able to set it up so that everything that she has, every tattoo, every pimple, every zit, can be perfectly replicated. Or near perfectly replicated. So if someone had a tattoo, they would know to put it in there correctly.
images. Oh yeah, so then there are glitches that happen with clones, and this used to happen all the time in the past, and like I said, I think that they're getting a little bit better. And I think that part of the issues with the glitches in the clones is the programming, right? Like they're programming in a personality, they're programming in memories, they're programming in a certain way of being based on the person who they were.
And where is all this happening, Elizabeth? You saw this facility yourself. You saw both these facilities. Where are they? Let's send some journalists over so we can expose all of this.
And so this programming, like the wires can get crossed sometimes. So sometimes you'll see a clone freeze. Like literally, just like on like live TV, it'll just like freeze up. And then kick back in. Like it's pretty.
I'm not a clone, and I do that too.
Pretty weird. Things like stumbling, like
It's called having a moment where you zone out because you're tired or you're dissociating or something like that, and you just shake yourself back into reality. That happens to everybody, Elizabeth, not just clones.
like physically stumbling. Also, fainting is a pretty good sign of a clone. Stuttering.
Well, there we go. Apparently Mitch McConnell is a clone. It's not because he's nearly, 80 or 90 years old. He's a clone.
Now, of course, like, there are people, celebrities, whatever, who do stutter, who do faint, or have health issues, or what.
Yes, Elizabeth. It's almost like she's completely contradicting herself, but her cognitive dissonance is preventing her from realizing that.
What have you. But just some things to look out for. Extra handlers is usually always a good sign of a clone, okay? Typically, they will have extra bodyguards around them.
I mean, if you're a major league celebrity, a major politician, a world leader, or a member of a royal family, you're going to have a lot of bodyguards around you. Do you not think about these things, Elizabeth? Or are you just spewing them around because they fit your narrative?
And these are people who are very aware of the glitches and the things that can happen and will step in pretty suddenly to remove them from the public. And then there's typically like still appearances with the clone, but there's less less engagement. So
I mean, if someone's going through some medical conditions and they're not able to go outside as much and interact with people, that's a very valid reason, Elizabeth.
So I'll just briefly mention that one of the benefits, okay, to the powers that were of cloning is that there's more control. They can literally control this being, this entity, this thing. They can control it completely, especially Kate. She was pretty defiant. She would play the game, but she was completely defiant, and whatever happened in December was that breaking point for her. And then the drawbacks to cloning for the powers that were, okay, are more maintenance, right? There's way more maintenance, way more breaking down, way more like
And now I know how she's going to spin the cancer diagnosis, and I'm already pissed off.
need for handlers, way more observations, like way more maintenance, right? Anyway, so that's it. I know it sounds absolutely batshit
Because it is batshit, Elizabeth.
mad, and I did not expect to take a look and see all of that. And something that I'm going to do just on my own free time is I'm going to make sure that she's okay and that she crosses over, because I did not see her over on the other side. And
Probably because, again, she isn't dead yet.
I mean, typically that means that she's kind of in the in-between. So at a soul level, I want to make sure she's fine. Anyway, so that's it. That's crazy. It's weird. It's wild.
It's bullshit.
I mean, take it or leave it, but really pay attention to the signs of clones, and see if there's anything else with Kate that you can really spot that might be a little bit weird moving forward. All right, just a reminder, this video is totally ad-free on my website, ElizabethApril.com, and if you enjoy this content, there have been multiple videos that were taken down on YouTube.
Probably because they were absolutely full of total bullshit. Shit like this is incredibly dangerous. It's not necessarily pseudoscientific, but this kind of conspiracy theory concepts go on to more dangerous thinking. It makes people think that this technology exists, and so they claim, oh, that's something that's just going on in real life right now. And fake news spreads, and it spreads further until one day disaster happens, and we get some insane things happening because someone decided that what Elizabeth April said was actually true. This stuff leads to disaster, and there's nothing more important, in my opinion, than trying to stop her. Thank you for listening to the World of Woocraft podcast. If you like my work, you can subscribe to my Patreon, as well as my YouTube and Twitch accounts. Google Lord Falconis and you'll find me. You can also share my content and help put an end to predatory New Age scams and pseudoscientific extremism. Sic semper charlatani. Until next time.